What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Procreate tutorial where today we're going to go ahead and create a very simple Robin design. Now you're going to want to follow along with the exact same colors, so you're going to need the palette, and the palette is available using the link in the description down below. It's under a section called requirements. It will take you over to my Patreon where you can grab the palette completely free. There you'll also find the canvas size that you need for today's design, as well as how many layers it's going to take for you to finish this. And while you're over there, make sure to check out my Patreon, because I post exclusive tutorials every single month to my Patreon supporters, and there's a catalogue of well over 120 exclusive tutorials to my patrons that you can get access to when you become a supporter over there. But you can do me a solid here and subscribe to the channel for weekly Procreate tutorials, and when you're done, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. So with all that said, let's get started. So once you've created your canvas, the first thing we want to do is go up to our actions. We want to go to the canvas tab. We want to add a drawing guide, and we want to edit that drawing guide to 1/4 of our canvas size. So 500 for me, and hit done, and then hit done again in the top right. So with the grid in place, you can now go ahead and work out roughly where I am in the actual canvas against your grid as well. So use the grid as a guide to lay things out. First thing we're going to do is go up to our brush. We're going to go to calligraphy and the monoline brush. We're going to go to our colors. Let's go ahead and grab this color here, top of the first column. So with that, we're then going to go ahead and just draw in a circle in the middle of the screen. Doesn't matter what your brush size is, just draw a circle and pop one finger on the screen to turn it into a perfect circle, roughly scale wise around about this sort of size. Now it doesn't matter what the size is, because first of all, we'll drag the color into the actual area here of our circle. So just drag the color in. Now, if we go to our cursor, we tap on it, we make sure we use the option down here of freeform. And we're just going to simply tap at the top here to open up the dimensions. When this is blue in the middle, it changes both sides at the same time. We want to tap on this and turn it off so that we can change the sizing based on each side of the actual ellipse that we need. So we want 691, and then we're going to tap on the other side once it changes itself to 916, and then we should have the right size. And then if I actually tap on the green node at the top here and tap on that, I can actually now input the rotation. I'm going to type in 38. It's going to rotate it in the background. And now, based on that, we now have exactly the same size, and we can now position this in our design where we need it. Now, roughly, we're going to just take a look, again, looking at the grid. It doesn't really matter necessarily positioning wise, to be honest, but something roughly around about there is good. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. Then what we want to do is we want to go to the layer. We want to tap on the layers N here, which stands for normal. And we want to bring the opacity down. We want to bring it down to around about 80%. That way we'll get some overlap of the colors. Now we're going to use this layer again. We're going to swipe it to the left. We're going to duplicate it. Then go to your colors, grab the orange at the top of the second column and drag and drop it into the ellipse again. So now we've got an orange version on top. We can then go ahead and tap on our cursor. We can then tap on the green dot again. We're going to change it. We're going to go ahead and sort of minus it. So we want to go ahead and go to the option of 47.2, but we want to make sure that's minus. So you tap on here. So type it in and then tap on this icon here. You'll see it change to minus. And then we want to go ahead and tap on one of the blue nodes. Again, tapping on it, you now want it blue, so it adjusts it accordingly. And we can just change the left cell to 499. Once you've done that, you can then see your ellipse and you can start to position this where we need it. This is going to be the chest of our Robin. So you roughly want to sort of align it to the left edge over here. Slight overlap is fine. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. Then we want to go ahead and just use the same shape. Swipe it to the left, duplicate it. Then using the other orange one at the top here, go to your cursor again. And we're going to keep the sides exactly the same. The only thing we're going to do is tap on the green dot, and we're going to go ahead and type in the degrees of 47.1. And we want to do that in a quick motion, so 47.1, and there we go, it will rotate. And then from there, we can use this as the top. Look at how we get the overlap of the orange now, because they're set to 80% each. Now we want to move this roughly so that it runs close to this corner here, and we want to have it roughly pretty much where it is right now. I think that's about right. We can always tweak it later. Then we're going to tap on our cursor when we're done. We're going to go to the layer. We're going to utilize it yet again. So we're going to swipe it to the left, duplicate it. We're going to then go to our colors. We're going to introduce a brown tone. So we're going to grab the top of the third column and we're going to drag it again into the ellipse because we're on the extra version now, of course. And then we're going to go to our cursor and we're going to go ahead and just drag it down towards this sort of point here. That looks pretty good. You've got, again, nice overlap. You've got a little bit of overlap at the back as well. And I think, to be honest, I could probably move mine a little bit off to the right-hand side. and that's pretty good. So I'm going to tap on my cursor when I'm done. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our layer. We're going to swipe it to the left, of course, duplicate it. The next one at the top here, we go to our colors and we grab the top of the fourth column now, and we drag it into that space. We're going to create a bit of a wing shape now. So we're going to go to our cursor yet again. We're going to change it though this time. We're going to use the option of warp down here. And you can drag out any one of these 9 sections here of the actual circle and the shape. So if I drag this now down all the way down to here, I can start to create a bit of a wing shape. Now we just want to sort of bring it inwards a tiny bit on the edges as well, just so we let a little bit of that light brown come through. You may want to slightly exaggerate it at the top as well. So if I bring that in a bit more, I can just push that just slightly up and over the boundary of the light brown that we created before. And then you want to try your best just to kind of push in from the middle of the middle row there. So the right hand side here, just kind of push that in and then just keep positioning it and changing it until you manage just to get a nice bit of a curve in here. It takes a little bit of adjustment, but you can just create that lovely little swooping line and then tap on your cursor when you're done. Then we can go ahead and utilize the exact same shape by swiping it to the left, duplicating it, then the top one out of the 2, grab your cursor. And before we make any adjustments, we want to first of all switch it to distort. We first then want to flip it horizontally, and then we want to tap on flip vertical as well. So it's now pointing down in the opposite way. And then we can go ahead and use this, dragging it down. So we've got some freedom to move it around now, down to here. And then what we want to do is we want to bring the top right node and just squish that down. We want to show the underside of the wing here. And to do so, we're just going to squish that down. And then we should be able to create sort of this nice little looping shape here at the bottom. You can adjust the positioning of it if you want to. You can sort of bring it up a little bit more. You could even sort of bring that down a tiny bit as well. So just squeezing the shape in just to create this kind of loop here, but we want that overlap of the shape so we get this really cool effect here. Next up, we're going to go ahead and add in some brown that runs over the top of the head. So we're going to go ahead and grab this brown layer here, this light brown ellipse. We're going to swipe it to the left. We're going to duplicate it. The top one out of the 2. We're going to grab our cursor. We're going to go ahead and use the option here of rotate. So I've moved it across. I'm going to use the blue just to rotate it until it's pretty much horizontal and flat. So once you've got it kind of laying sort of horizontal, tap on your cursor, then tap on it again. And now it will fix itself to the boundary. You can then go to freeform and you can just flatten this down. You can also make it a little bit narrower. Again, look at my grid for sizing. That's really important. So I'm just going to stretch the brown out there. I'm going to squish this down. It's just a little bit higher than that first row ending there. And it just needs to be around about the height of the orange area as well. And I'm probably just going to bring that in the tiniest bit on the end there. I'll tap on my cursor when I'm done. I'm then going to go to my layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate that. Grab my cursor, rotate it until we get a bit of an angle like this. I don't have a specific angle for you necessarily. The only thing you want to try and do is get a little bit of overlap. You can probably squish this down as well and rotate it. So I will give you my rotation angle just so if you really need it, but something roughly like this. So we've got a nice overlap of all the shapes. So rotation angle there was -50.6 and the size is 302 by 122. And tap on your cursor when you're done. And we've got a nice little bit of brown that makes it up and over the head. Now we can go ahead and add in some very simple shapes for the eyes and the nose, etc. So we'll go right to the top of our layers and create a new layer. We'll go to our colors and we will grab the darkest color here in the palette. So it's the top of the 5th column. Your brush could be, say, the monoline brush, which we'll use just to start with. So we'll go ahead and draw in an eye. The size doesn't matter, just keep it fairly small. You just want to draw in a circle here and pop one finger on the screen to make sure it's a nice perfect circle. And then you can go ahead and drag and drop the color in. And you've got a nice little eye there for your Robin, and positioning, that looks pretty good to me. You can then decide, do you want to keep the monoline brush or use something else? But I think the monoline brush will pass. If you just create a beak-like shape here at the front, you can also let that just run onto the face a little bit and just connect like this. So you can drag and drop the color in and you've got a little beak for your Robin. We're then going to move down towards the legs as well. So we are actually going to create one leg and then we'll duplicate it. So we want to go ahead and draw in a line that's going to be a little bit diagonal. It's going to run, say, from here to here. And we want to just tuck that just the tiniest bit under there. And then from there, we might want to just thicken that up because my brush size is set to the very smallest. So I'm going to just do that. And then I'm just going to create like a little bit of a curve at the top. So just a little bit of drawing at this point, and we'll connect the two together so we can just drag and drop the color into there. From there, we can then go ahead and draw in the claws. I hate drawing claws, but it's actually not that difficult really. With a 1% brush size, we'll go ahead and we will create a swoop, a flat edge, and then a swoop back in. So a little something like that and connect the two together. We'll then go ahead and draw in another sort of claw at the top here. Again, a similar kind of shape, drag and drop the color in. And then we'll add in one on the rear as well. So we're going to swoop that down, flat edge, swoop it back up and in, and drag and drop your color in. Then you can go ahead and detail this a tiny bit more by making that a little bit more rounded and a little bit more rounded here, followed by another little bit of rounding there too. Then we'll switch our brush. We will need to go ahead and grab something that we can add a bit of pressure sensitivity to it. So under inking, I'm going to switch to the syrup brush and I'm going to set the size to 11%. We are going to go ahead and add in some very simple claws on the end. It's pressure sensitive, so you want to start off pretty heavy and then let that get nice and sort of light towards the end. So you end up with a little bit of a shape like this, and then you can create another one on the end. Now you want to just make sure you press nice and firm and you end up with that nice little bit of a claw on the back. So now we can go ahead and make a selection of this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and use freehand and make sure color fill is turned off. I'm going to draw around it, just creating a very loose shape and tapping on the dot here to finish the selection. If I go to this option here, it's going to copy and paste that shape onto a brand new layer. So if I go to my layers, you can see it now says from selection because that's the selection we made. If I grab my cursor, I use the option of uniform first of all, just scale that down a tiny bit because it's on the rear side of the bird, of course. And I'll move this a little bit higher like this. I can rotate it if I need to, but I'm going to scale it down in size. I'm going to tap on my selection tool, my cursor, sorry. Then I'm going to go to my selection tool and I'm going to go ahead and draw around and then through the ball here, just to grab the actual leg shape here and tap on the dot. If I grab my cursor now, I can actually go ahead and just move that one little bit and I want to just rotate it a little bit more and attach it back into the leg and tap on my cursor when I'm done. You may need to get your brush and just connect them back together. Now, at this point, we've got a little bit of overlap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to go to the grey layer for the chest, the very first layer that we created. If I tap on it and I make a selection of it, so I tap on select. Now it's really important that color fill is nice and grayed out like it is here. What we can then do is if we go back to our layers, we've still got the selection in play, as you can see from the diagonal lines. If we go up to our new leg that we created, and we go to our eraser and the monoline brush, for example, any brush will be fine as the eraser. The monoline is under the option of calligraphy. Set your size to anything and just make that erasing line through there, because now it's on the opposite side of the bird, and tap on your selection tool when you're done. And you've got an extra little bird leg there. Now we can go ahead and we can tap on the leg that we created, tap on it and merge it down. So we can tap on it and use the option of merge down. So all of the black little details we created are on one layer. We can then go ahead and create another new layer. We can go to our colors. We can grab the first color in the palette, top left of it, going back to your brush and making sure we're still using inking and the syrup brush. We can add in a minor little bit of detail. So if I tap away, zoom in on the eye, I'm going to add a little bit of a curve up here for the eye, just a nice little accent. You might be able to add a tiny little one on the bottom as well. And then for the beak, we're going to go ahead with a very light amount of pressure just running through the beak like so. And then another brighter, larger accent potentially on the top edge, and then maybe even a couple of light scrapes across there too. And there you go, you've got the beak for your robin as well. Let's just quickly add a shadow on the floor and we're done. So we can go to our layers, we can create a new layer, but hold down on the layer and drag it all the way to the very bottom of your layer. So drag it all the way down. Then go to your color, grab the middle color in the first column, and then go to your brush, go to calligraphy again and the monoline brush. And then you can go ahead and draw in an ellipse across the floor. Hold your pen at the end so it snaps to an ellipse. And then you can pop one finger on the screen just to make sure it also snaps to the correct angle. And then you can drag and drop your color in. So you can just drag and drop it in. You've got a nice little shadow on the floor. I think, to be honest, this is probably a little bit too colorful. So I'm going to tap on it. I'm going to bring its opacity all the way down, I reckon to about 40%. And then you can grab your cursor if you need to. You can use the option of freeform. And you could maybe just flatten that down just a little bit, just to create a very basic kind of ground shadow here. You could move it a little bit closer towards the right side. Tap on your cursor when you're done. Now I'm just going to very quickly show you my changes that I would make. I'm going to go back to this layer here, grab my cursor, just use the option of freeform and just move it in a tiny bit on that left hand side. So it's a little bit more flush. And then I think I'm also going to go ahead and go to my layers. I'm going to grab this brown circle here for the wing, grab my cursor again. I'm going to use warp this time, and I'm just going to squish in that back edge just a tiny bit, narrowing it in so you can see the top right is a little bit more squished in. And then also going to grab uniform, and I think we'll go ahead and we'll just go ahead and scale it up just the tiniest little bit and a little bit higher. Then tap in on my cursor when I'm done. Another change is just to this wing. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the wing. I'm going to grab my cursor. I'm going to go ahead and use uniform and maybe just scale it down in size just a tiny bit and tap on my cursor when I'm done. And now I think I've got everything in position. So now I've got everything I think that I need to change. I've gone up to my actions. I'll turn off my drawing guide. I'll go ahead and zoom in and go full screen with 4, and we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this very simple Robin design. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them, like Instagram or Facebook. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel for weekly Procreate tutorials. But if you want even more tutorials from me, you can come and find me over on Patreon, where I've been posting 3 exclusive tutorials every single month to my Patreon supporters, and the catalogue's well over 120 exclusive tutorials at the time of recording. With 3 added every single month, that catalogue continues to grow. And you can actually check out the catalogue of exclusive tutorial designs over on my website before you join. And that way you can make sure that the content is fit for you. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. And if you like this video here on YouTube, you will love this one on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.